Another chorus for your ears only. I'm David Alpern with this quote from last week's news. If he didn't have the right political clout, he would have been crushed already. That was Peking University professor Paul Gillis on Chinese government support for Jack Ma, whose multifunction internet giant Alibaba scored the largest initial public offering ever on the U.S. stock market, $22 billion, boosting its overall market value to $168 billion. Also last week, Home Depot confirmed the biggest data breach in retail history, 56 million customer credit card accounts with $3 billion in possible losses. Now a May 17, 1998 Newsweek On Air segment with AP's Warren Levinson again as co-host.
When they begin, it brings back the sound of music so tender. It brings back a night of tropical splendor. It brings back a memory evergreen.
For Francis Albert Sinatra, Frank, Old Blue Eyes, and chairman of the board, the began back in Hoboken, New Jersey, and carried him through good times and bad, from the early stage shows and radio broadcasts, such as the one we just heard, through hi-fi, Hollywood, hobnobbing with presidents, losing and regaining his voice, and singing duets with an ever-younger generation of stars who revered him as a master of popular culture and stylish celebrity. It ended last week after 82 years with a heart attack and Sinatra's reported refusal of extraordinary life support, leaving a vast legacy of music, movies, and memories for everyone who ever loved or lost with his songs as soundtrack.
As he turned 80 back in 1995, we turned to author Wilfrid Sheed, who won a Grammy for Sinatra liner notes, and to cabaret singer Andrea Marcovici for some thoughts on the secrets of Sinatra's enduring appeal. Wilfrid Sheed, tell us what it is about Frank Sinatra that keeps us focused on him even at this juncture.
Well, I think the quality of the songs themselves. You know you're never going to hear them sung better than this. I think the thing you have to remember about Sinatra, we were all listening to the radio from morning to night in those days, and we were getting better and better at it, expecting more. And this was the best we'd ever heard. I don't think anyone had ever used a microphone as well as he had. Nobody worked with big bands better than he did. You know, whatever it was, he was the best.
What qualities of language and music make those songs so enduring to this day?
Well, there are two schools of thought about this. There are some people who think the lyrics were the strong suit, but the tunes were simply incredible, and people who would normally have been writing classical music, all the way to our current Cy Coleman, were simply seduced by the music because the music was doing such interesting things. It was being filled with the improvisation of jazz, was flooding into it. And people like Louis Armstrong were creating music as they played. It was a very, very exciting time.
Come fly with me, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay.
We also asked Sheed about the contradictions that characterize Sinatra, a sensitive, emotional sounding board in performance, but offstage often a rude, crude, macho manipulator with legendary ties to the underworld that dominated the saloons he first played in and always enjoyed.
If you see a film of him making a record, you realize this is an incredibly serious man in this one respect. He's almost reverent about music, and when he names the musicians he's playing with, or he names the songwriters, it's with enormous respect. And you wouldn't even guess the other side of him. After hours, he likes to play around. He's in fact, I gather, hasn't changed that much. He was always a wise guy from Hoboken.
Take me back, I love you. Pity me.
For a singer's take on what made him so special, we turn to cabaret star Andrea Marcovici, also an actor like Sinatra.
I think it started so long ago. What made him so special was that he was willing to be a male torch singer. That's what I think. I think that he was willing to show heartbreak from the male point of view. That's when it really started, the extraordinary quality of Frank Sinatra. He would just bleed over lost love, and this wasn't something I think very typical in the male singers. It was something very expected in the female singers.
What do you think makes this music so enduring? Is it the sentiment? Is it the use of language? Is it pre-Sondheim that you can actually remember and hum?
I think it's a combination of the fact that the melodies are memorable and that they're really ambitious, therefore they're something to really grab onto. But I think it is essentially the use of language, and that we've missed lately this sophisticated style of language, the wit, the intelligence, and the poetry.
Been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king.
Finally, when an old Sinatra concert with Rat Pack pals Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. was broadcast on cable, we asked daughter Tina Sinatra about the old man's appeal.
Forget the talent. That's a given. That's a God-given thing. He recognized it, he nurtured it, and he sustained. He's had a long, good life. But I think attitude had a lot to do with it. I think that if Dad had lived a life more like, say, Perry Como, who was, long married and a golfing, relaxed guy. Dad was a little more of as Bing Crosby referred to him once, he said I was sort of the pup under the porch and Frank was out chasing the cars or something like that. He just had that magnetism and energy that he had to spend it, and fortunately for all of us, he did it on a stage. And I think it's part of it was his persona. I mean, he was a unique, I'll do it my way kind of guy. You should pardon the horrible pun.
And more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Remembering Frank Sinatra with daughter Tina, Wilfrid Sheed, and Andrea Marcovici.
From our May 17, 1998 Newsweek On Air show, Tina Sinatra published My Father's Daughter, a memoir in 2000. In 2008, my friend Sheed won an ASCAP Deems Taylor Book Award for The House That George Built. Gershwin, of course, with a little help from Irving, Berlin that is, Cole, that would be Porter, and a crew of about 50. He died in 2011. Marcovici, the most frequent entertainment guest on our show over the years, still sings around the world and will co-host one of 4 nights of the 25th Annual Cabaret Convention, October 20 through 23, in the Rose Theater, Jazz at Lincoln Center on Broadway in Manhattan. Next, Shame and Fame, Faith and Fashion, for your ears only.